Hey guys, I just wanted to do a quick video showing how I made one of the maps for Too Light. So you can see here I'm just placing some buildings and parts of buildings in the editor that is built into RPG Maker. I'm just doing that for convenience sake, kind of get a head start on things. Later I bring it into Photoshop. Technically, the technique is called parallax mapping, where you start off either in the editor or in Photoshop, and then bring it back into the game engine later. It just allows you to do some more custom effects, overlays, lighting, stuff like that. You can see that I'm putting the buildings on a transparent background right now because I don't want to have to cut out a background later. So here I've brought it back into Photoshop, just putting some grass that I've made for previous maps down, putting some stone, different types of stone, so I can work with that later. So this is what I was talking about, going back through using that stone to kind of create a path. This was really one of my first city-like maps, town maps like this that I've done. So it was a lot of trial and error for me. I realized, unfortunately, after I finished a lot of doing this little path laying here, this walkway, street, whatever you want to call it, especially this part right here where I'm going through and really cutting out the edges. At the time, it seemed like a really good idea because, stone doesn't fade into grass. That's not realistic at all, like the edges were. So I was trying to cut out and be precise, have kind of a unique pattern laid out there. But then I later decided I didn't like it. So that was a waste of time. But anyway, you live and learn. So you can see I changed the brightness of the path a little bit. It was just looking a little bit too bright for me. Going around adding some details, some tall grass around the edges. Right here I was trying to cover up the edge a little bit. I still wasn't too happy with the way that the edge blended in with the path. And this was one way that I tried to get it to work. Just placing some flowers, trees. The thing I love most about trees, especially in doing parallax mapping, is not just how, cool you can get them to look. I mean, I think they just add a lot of atmosphere, but also the fact that you can actually do an effect where the player will pass behind the tree. I know that sounds pretty simple, but in this game engine, you do have to put a little bit of forethought into that. So just kind of messing around, putting some more stuff. I didn't want to go overboard with the trees or anything. And here is where I actually found a solution to my edge problem. I found a little patch of grass and just duplicated it a ton all along the edge of the road. So it actually has some actual blades of grass that look like it's growing up over top of the road. Obviously, if you look at it like this, it looks like a miserable mess. So once I got it down, I put that layer all behind the buildings, and what I actually did was selected just the edges and made that a higher opacity than the middle. I didn't want the patches of grass to completely overshadow the grass that I had laid earlier. I still liked that kind of different lights and darks in there, so I made the edges right where it meets the path more visible than the inside, so you can see the tall grass kind of fades as it goes from the street down to the middle of the grass. I was happy with that effect. I just had to go back and kind of erase some of the road, so you can see there that all that work I really did, being really precise about cutting out the edges of the road, kind of was in vain, but that's okay. As I said, live and learn. Just fixing up things around doors, and I think at this point I was done with the base of the base of the map. The next thing that I always do is I work with adding some lighting effects to it. Instead of just, plain flat kind of feel, I like it to have a little bit of, feel of sun rays going through. So I just do that by painting some white over it and then turning the opacity way down. On that, do that a couple times, just to give a little bit of dimension to it. So when the player's walking around in the game and they pass under the light, they'll brighten up. And when they pass under a shadow, say of a tree, they will actually get under that shadow as well. Here I'm actually making a night version of the map. Just creating a dark overlay of black and then a blue overlay. The moonlight is a lot more blue than sunlight, obviously. So things in the environment have a cooler feel, so that's why I add blue to that. Here I'm just going through, going back and erasing a little bit of that darkness where there's windows and lanterns on the outside of houses, just to kind of make it feel like it's a little illuminated. Just tweaking it just a little bit till I'm happy with it. And then once I have all that done, just save it all out, pull it into RPG Maker again. The difference making a map in the editor and in Photoshop with parallaxing is you have to actually set the passability, meaning where the player can walk and where he can't, manually. So this is what I'm doing here. Just kind of saying this is all the O's are where you can walk, all the X's are where you can't, and then you have a completed map. You can walk around. The buildings are over top of you if you walk behind them. The trees are as well, so you can walk behind there. You can tell the little bits of light that I added, kind of bringing it a little more atmosphere. It's not so flat. And I'm really actually happy with the way that the edges of the grass turned out. I know what works now. That's all for today, guys. Let me know what else you'd like to see in the future.